In today's show, we're finding our relentless positivity, tracking down true good things that have happened during a trying Blazers season. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. Listen to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen. Free on all platforms, 5 days a week, coming at you Monday through Friday. Start your weekdays with it. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we have found the relentless positivity. During a trying Blazers season, it has been somewhat challenging to remain optimistic. And while I legitimately pride myself in the show without, I'm not BSing you, right? Like I am not playing a character. I am not, it's not fan service. I am giving you my opinion. So when I say some things on here that people don't like, it's because I truly believe it, right? Yesterday's show, I shared what I truly believe is that the roster's not very good. The coach hasn't figured it out, and the Blazers look like they're in a little bit of trouble in the near term and the medium term. And if you're in both in trouble in the short term and in the medium term, the long term doesn't look great either. But instead, so if you're looking for sort of that like cold water realism, let's keep it real. That's yesterday's episode. In today's episode, we are leaning the other way because I think you deserve it. This is a pro-joy podcast. I believe very strongly in finding your joy in life and then clinging tightly to it because life is hard. Most basketball teams lose. It is both inside and outside of the basketball world. We are challenged every day to find things that bring us joy. And I very wholeheartedly believe that once you find something that brings you joy, cling tightly to it. So today's episode is a mission to find joy in a trying season. And I've found some joy. I'm going to bring you 3 undeniable positives from the Blazers season. Undeniable positives, without controversy. These things have been good this year, in a season that has maybe lacked some good for a little while. I found some good ones. And typically when I do this, I pepper in a little bit of my own natural cynicism, my natural pessimism. But for you, I've kept it out of the notebook. There is no, I drank all the haterade yesterday. Today is kind of in some ways a character. I am actively avoiding sort of the harsh dose of reality this Blazers season has handed us and searching for relentless positivity. So let's go. 3 things that are undeniably positive, and then we'll share some moments of Blazers joy to close the show. I've asked listeners to share their moments of joy, and we got a couple really good ones I'll share with you to close the show. Stick around for that one. But first, some undeniable good things from the Blazers season. The first undeniable good thing from the season is Shaedon Sharpe dunking the ball. The dunks are undeniable. First of all, the dude floats. There are great athletes. A friend of mine asked for a Shaedon Sharpe comp earlier this season. I said Desmond Mason. It was a little tongue-in-cheek, Desmond Mason. But Desmond Mason flew. If you are not old enough to remember who that is, played in the early 2000s, went to Oklahoma State, dunked a lot. An absolute wild leaper. Vince Carter is the name that comes up. I think Gerald Green is someone who just like has these effortless hops. Shaedon Sharpe might be better than all of those dudes in terms of just like sheer athletic brilliance. The type of dude who jumps so high you think it's a problem. His hands are up, above the square often. There was a time early in the season when he continuously hit his head on the rim and backboard because he jumped too high. He was literally jumping too high. When he was briefly entered in the dunk contest, I worried that his hops were so effortless that it wouldn't translate well to the dunk contest because he gets up there without making look like he's trying. He is an absolutely insane dunker. He has found a real role cutting from the corners to be a lob threat when the ball gets to the middle of the court. Ball gets to the middle of the court, he's in the corner, he cuts baseline. His teammates have found him for some thunderous dunks. He's also had crazy dunks on the break. He took off from basically a foot inside the free throw line in the middle of the game and crammed from taking off from 14.5 feet. No problem with the right hand. He's dunked all over people. Apologies to Draymond Green, who Shaedon Sharpe really, really put on a poster, or for our modern times, he jiffed him, I guess. I hate that. So there's a little bit of pessimism. There's a little pessimism sneaking in. No, he absolutely has just crammed on people this year. Crammed on people. He has dunked 51 times this season. 24% of his field goals are dunks for a 6'6", 19-year-old wing. He crams everything. For context, because numbers are better with context, Amari Stoudemire, one of the most dunkingest dudes of all time in the 06-07 season, his first All-Star year, he dunked 38% of his dunks. Amari, though, was a play finisher who ran pick and rolls at 6'10". He was not a 6'6" wing. Dwight Howard, maybe the dunkingest dude of his generation, dunked his first All-Star campaign, dunked 49% of his field goal attempts, half his shots. So like somewhere between, for like the super elite, the most dunkingest dudes in the history of the sport, somewhere between 38 and 49%. Shaedon Sharpe's had about a quarter of his dunks. That's wild. For more context, Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's kind of like if Shaq got crossed with Vince Carter, Giannis Antetokounmpo this season is dunks on 27.5% of his made field goals are dunks. Shaedon Sharpe's dunking 24% of his shots. He's dunking everything. Basketball Reference has Vince Carter's dunks wrong. Like they just are straight up like the number is off. NBA.com has it right. But Vince Carter, when he was, I believe this is the 99-2000 based on Basketball Reference, but I haven't cross-checked it. Only 17% of his field goals were dunks. Even the greatest dunker that maybe we've ever seen wasn't dunking it with the frequency of Shaedon Sharpe. Undeniably great dunking the ball. He's been really fun. He's worth watching because he's that fun. Every time he plays, he's going to do something that it's like, oh, I'm not sure I've seen that before. He's worth turning on your television or however you might watch the games. Shout out to those of you out there with Sail in the Seven Seas. The next undeniable positive from the Blazers season. Nassir Little shooting. Nassir Little coming into the season is a 31.7% three-point shooter. Under 32% from three. He had made 93 threes in 2,300 minutes. 31%, less than a third of his shots. He was not a particularly good shooter in college, his one season at Carolina. He had really struggled his first 3 years in the league from three, and there was a question of what sort of position he was going to be and how much he could really play if he didn't shoot. And if he couldn't shoot. And when he got into the league, he tweaked his jump shot, got a little more arc under it, got a cleaner release, kind of a one-motion cleaner release. I'm not a big mechanic scout guy, but it looks cleaner, obviously, and it wasn't as flat as it was when he first got into the league. This year, shooting 40% from three. He's an above-average three-point shooter, a straight-up good one, undeniably positive from this season. In his first 3 years, 46% of his shot attempts were from three. That's pretty normal for a wing. This year, he's bumped it up to 55%. 54.9% of his shots are from three. He's a bomber. He's a bomber, and he's shooting 40% from three. The dude is a great shooter and knows it and is taking more threes than he ever has. More volume, more frequently, and making more by a 30% jump in terms of accuracy. From 31.7 over his first 3 seasons to 40.0 heading into Tuesday's game. Dude can really shoot it. He can really, really shoot it. It's an undeniable positive that Nassir Little becoming a true marksman from deep has been undeniably good. And that's why we're being relentlessly positive. I got one more. A third undeniably positive moment from the first 2/3 of the season. That's what we'll talk about in the second segment. But first, let me tell you about Ibotta. Groceries, buying school supplies, you're getting a little something for yourself on the side. You know you're already doing that, so why not get a little cash back with Ibotta? You can earn cash back on every shopping trip. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items from produce to personal care to pantry goods. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta user earns $120 a year in real cash. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. You could use your cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing, that game you're dying to go to, or that fancy dinner you've been craving. A typical basket of groceries was over $50 more expensive at the end of 2022 than the beginning of the year due to inflation. You could earn 2.5 times that in cash back from Ibotta, or even more, depending on how much you use Ibotta. Plus, Ibotta gives you real cash back, not points. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, to PayPal, or even to gift cards. You can earn that cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's for your home improvement enthusiasts, or Macy's, or Sephora, or Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering my listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta using the code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play, download the free Ibotta app, and use the code LOCKED. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use the code LOCKED. All right. Let's get positive. I think I've talked about this like a lot on the show. I talk about this like the magic of the notebook. But I have a good memory for stuff that I write down. I can get a little lost if it's digital. Maybe I'm old school. I used to complain back in the day when this was more of a thing that the Blazers got rid of the paper media guides, because I like flipping through the media guides, circling stuff, writing stuff down. I would remember those stats. It's gone all digital now. Okay, and more pessimism. It's worse. They use a digital game day notes that are just worse. But I went to my notebook, and I'll hold it up for the camera. I've done this a lot recently. That's a real notebook. You can pause the screen and see what my handwriting looks like. But if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, I'm holding up my notebook. That's if you're an audio listener. I held up a black piece of paper with some pen scribbles on it. But when I went to the notebook, these didn't come super easy to me. Shaedon Sharpe did, Nassir Little did, the last one did, but I started to realize there were both some positives that I would have to search for, and there'd be a little bit of stretch. And then there was also just like some truths. Here's a truth. Anthony Simons has grown into a real 3-level scorer. He was not this earlier in his career. And this season, he's become a true 3-level scorer. He's shooting 66% on the rim this year. He's finally getting and finishing to the rim, the thing that I have been hoping that he would kind of add to his game. He always was pretty good in the mid-range, not one of the elite mid-range shooters, but has enough mid-range juice to kind of like make him dangerous there. Like he's like right at average for his position as a combo guard according to Cleaning the Glass. He's an elite shooter, both on catch and shoot and pull-up shooting from three. Like he can really shoot it from beyond the arc. He hasn't really, he's shooting a little bit worse, but he hasn't really taken a dip from three. He hasn't really taken a dip from the mid-range. He still has those great jump shooting abilities. And this year, for the first time, 66% of the rim, according to cleaningtheglass.com. For his career, he was hovering between 55 and 57% of the rim. That's a significant jump. Like that is not nothing. His volume has gone up a little bit, and his finishing has gone up a whole bunch. He has become someone who can really score. I think we saw it in the game against Philly on Friday. It's like getting to the rim, can finish with his left hand, can finish with his right hand. He has he's more comfortable using the glass than he's been in the past, and then shooting like tough floaters. He had like a real heavy diet of tough floaters, and he has mixed in with still having that skill set. So he actually, getting himself all the way to the rim and scoring. Those are easier baskets, and they can, the variety helps your game. Anthony Simons undeniably has become a 3-level scorer this year. But that's not my undeniable positive. Even if it's undeniable, it's not my undeniable positive. I thought about Jeremy Grant. He's in the notebook too. shooting a career best 40% from three. He's averaging 20.5, 4.5, and 2.5 assists. Like, he's been really good this year. This is Jeremy Grant's most efficient season. He has kind of proven that he is the player they went out and they worked hard to acquire following the CJ McCollum trade. Okay, here's what we've got left over after making this big franchise-altering trade. Who can we add to like make the sort of like second half of this worth it? Jeremy Grant has been really good. He's been really good. But unsurprisingly, the undeniable positive, and the last one that I'll share with you before we get into some moments of joy from listeners, is that Damian Lillard is playing the best basketball of his career. The best basketball of his career. He's 32 years old. He'll turn 33 in July. Little cancer baby. He's averaging a career best 32.1 points to go with 7.3 assists and 4.7 rebounds. He is shooting his career best field goal percentage, 46% from the floor. He's shooting 37% from three on 11 attempts per game. And because he's been so good, a career best 56.8 effective field goal percentage, which takes in the value of three-pointers, including his volume at 11 a game, and the efficiency inside the arc at 57.8% on twos. Easily the best he's ever shot on twos. Easily. It's the best effective field goal percentage of his career. It's the best true shooting season of his career. It's the most efficient he's ever been on offense. He's in some of the advanced metrics, he's pushing up there better than he's ever been. Career high PER, career high win shares per 48, career high offensive box score plus minus. Like, he's just been great. He's been great. And this is really like, to me, this matters because this is the thesis of holding on to your joy. It is not to remember the way this season is likely to finish, which is frustrating, quite frankly. Like, frustrating, undeniable. It's undeniable negative, right? I guess even if you have a really wide view, you could probably spin it some other way, but that's not what we're doing here. Not spinning it. We're telling truths, real truths. Damian Lillard is as good as he's ever been. So when you've watched this season, when he's scoring 60 and then 71, when he's breaking, when he's pushing up for the most non-Wilt Chamberlain 60-point performances in NBA history, when he's led the league in scoring in January, led the league in total points in February, he was up there in March before he missed a game, and I assume if he plays the rest of March, he'll be right up there again. Like, he's been a monster. It's been incredible. The thesis of holding on to your joy is appreciating what Damian Lillard has done this year. It reminds me in some ways, Dame's been better than this, but it reminds me in some ways of the 08-09 Brandon Roy season, when it was like, oh, this dude is one of the 10 best players in the league. Like, he's arrived, he's here. And, they don't win a playoff series. It just didn't work out for him. And things pivoted quickly for B-Roy in his career, and it ended fast. Like, the fall came quickly. But that season, that run is like, it is easy to cherish if you remember what the sort of mundane January, February, March games were, the special moments in December of that season, of December of 08. It's like, if you are capable, remember what Damian Lillard has delivered in the 2022-2023 season. He has been fantastic, as good as he's ever been. He's one of the best players in the league again. He might be a first-team All-NBA, or depends on kind of how much wins and losses factor into that type of thing. He has outside chance of winning the scoring title. He's been fantastic, undeniably great. So hold on to your joy, cling tightly to it, because the sobering realities of the world will crush down on you inside and outside of basketball. So when you find something joyous and find something joyful, remember it, cherish it, savor it, and do not let it go. And in that vein, I asked listeners to share moments of joy from their Blazers fandom with me. I've got 2 really good ones to share with you to close the show. That's what we will do. But first, let me tell you about FanDuel. It's America's largest sports book, and it's a great time to get in on the action because you can get a no-sweat first bet. That's bonus bets back up to $1,000 just for signing up. FanDuel makes it easy to bet on whatever you want, from point scores to who wins to who hits the most three-pointers. Plus, you can combine your bets with a same-game parlay. So, why don't you go take advantage? Sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Get your no-sweat first bet. That's bonus bets back up to $1,000, even if your first bet loses. Only at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. I got some moments of joy. We've done these from time to time in the episode. Or on the program, various episodes over the years. And quite frankly, this is a way for me to say, hey, remember how good it is to be a Blazers fan? And I don't mean like you have it particularly good because you root for the mighty Pinwheels. I mean that regardless of basically what team you root for, there are reasons to say, oh man, this was so fun. And it is important from time to time to revisit these things. I used to think that nostalgia was a toxic trait, that it was a looking back on something for clinging to things from the past that did not help us get to where we needed to be in the future. I don't believe that anymore. It could be because of the way the last 3 years have gone in the world. It could be because I'm older now. But I believe that there is a value in remembering your joy and, moreover, for the thesis of the podcast, clinging to your joy. Cling tightly to your joy. So here's a couple of moments of joy from listeners shared with me. If you want to share yours, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. Full disclosure, I'm probably not going to do this again until, I probably won't do one again for the rest of the year. So if you share one with me, I will save it in my inbox. I'm pretty good at cataloging these, but they might come back in the summertime. So these are 2 wonderful ones. The first one comes from listener Matt, who shared 2 related moments of joy. Matt writes, I will say a moment of joy that has been I will say a moment of joy that I've been lucky enough to be on both sides of sharing is fandom between parent and child. When I was about 14, my dad drove me up from Salem to see the Blazers play the Minnesota Timberwolves for my first game at Memorial Coliseum. I was so in awe at being in the arena with these players that I had idolized and only seen on TV, plus to experience the crowd in person. I still have the ticket. And now I have 2 teenage daughters, and I was lucky enough to see the look on their faces when they really first enjoyed and understood the game. It has been a few years, so I can't tell you exactly which game we were at, but I can clearly remember the look on their faces with the team face paint on as they celebrated the Blazers' win and their favorite player's performance. That is what I hold on to for joy. Thank you, Matt. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I love it. I love it. This next moment of joy comes from Orion, who writes, my moment of joy is surely shared by a boatload of Blazer fans. Point 9. This is, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with just the simple explanation, this is my editorializing, not Orion's writing. This is the Damian Lillard game winner in the 2014 playoffs, the Blazers' first win in a playoff series in 14 years when Damian Lillard hits a game-winning three-pointer over Chandler Parsons to beat the Rockets in Game 6, avoid a Game 7 in Houston, and send the Blazers to their first playoff win in 14 seasons since the year 2000. Orion continues. The Blazers were ahead, then they were behind, and there was almost no hope left. But we held our collective breaths, and when Dame splashed the winner, the entire Rose Garden crowd, all 20,000 of us, exhaled a roar that wouldn't stop. And as we hugged strangers and looked at each other in the rapturous disbelief. The volume of the crowd impossibly got louder and louder, and it was sustained beyond what seemed humanly possible, and still it grew. Then Dame took the mic. Rip City! And it was like Sting at the end of some tantric marathon. It was a climactic experience. And then it was finished, and we went home. And that glow still keeps me warm. Those are two perfect instances, two perfect ones of holding on to your joy. Hold on to the joy of sharing your love of the Blazers with those who you love, just like listener Matt. And remember the collective experience of the highest highs, like listener Orion. It's really special to be able to be a fan of something, to be able to have something and say, I love this and it brings me joy. And that's the whole thesis, right? It's how special it is to have something outside of yourself to watch and connect with strangers and whatever it might be. Connect with the people you love in your life, connect with people you have never met and say, hey, we both love this and it is meaningful to us. And that is why I encourage you, when you have these moments, tuck them away, keep them close. Because sometimes the Blazers go 31-37 through their first 68 games. And they spend 2 seasons maybe losing on purpose. And you got to hold tightly to your joy. You got to. So if you have it, find it, keep it, hold it close. Remember Shaedon Sharpe's dunks, Nassir Little's 3-point shooting, Damian Lillard playing the best he's ever played. Hold tightly to it. Keep it somewhere safe that you can revisit when you need it, because we know you're going to need it. Life's hard. I appreciate you listening. We'll do it again tomorrow. The Blazers play the Celtics. The games are tough. We'll talk about them when they happen. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.